It's the infamous. I'm the infamous astrologist. Going down in infamy. Understand? It's the infamous Mercury, Pluto, conjunction, called the mind, your sixth house, third house. What are these themes? Third house, the community. Your community. Those who you borrow a cup of sugar from, you heard? Whose shoulders you cry on. Who you find solutions to life with. Your clan, your tribe. Pluto's going to uncover, root, opportunities that's going to make for what? Efficiency and innovation in your life to give ease and solution to the Cancer Mars crisis. Inner child needs an advocate. I'm uncomfortable. I can't find the nipple. I'm frustrated. I can't find the nipple. Understand? So we're showing up with solutions for that, and Pluto is helping us to get down to the bottom, the root of where this irritation has been coming from the community and what we have going on with the community. And at the sixth house, the daily routines, how you spend your time, how you utilize your resources, open enemies, unresolved matters with them, okay? Open enemies of the self, your addictions, your patterns that sabotage your progress, that sabotage your efficiency. Understand? Getting down to the bottom. We've been feeling it. Now it's time to articulate it. Now it's time to put it in words. Now it's time to be able to describe that feeling. Understand? Understand? When you bring Pluto and Mercury together, it's a very deep mind. It's a mind that's able to pierce through false realities, false narratives. It's a mind that's able to get beyond the matrix, to get to where truth resides. A resilient mind. I can handle it. I can handle it. That's what this is. So, being that Pluto and Mercury is at the house of Aquarius, 11th house in Aquarius, you want to know where that's at in your natal birth chart. Understand? You want to know where that's at in your natal birth chart. 11th house, obviously, your place in the world market, where you are bringing value to the world and where you're taking value from the world, where you're offering a service to the world and where you're receiving services from the world, 11th house. Somewhere in here, there's something to be revealed or understood that has not yet been articulated or clarified. That's part of the missing pieces to you answering once again the irritation of the baby that's looking for the nipple, okay? Mars, Cancer. That's the newborn baby who comes home, okay? And it can't find the nipple. It's screaming its lungs out. It's frustrated. It wants to be nurtured. It wants to be comfortable. It wants to have emotional security with itself. The inner child is screaming, hey, protect me, cover me, make sure I'm all right, make sure I'm good. Make sure that person don't hurt me. Make sure that person don't wrong me. Answer my cries. Attend to me. It's also resentment that's hidden underneath, where you volunteer to do things that nobody even asked you to do in the first fucking place. But yet you're walking around here crying and you're complaining about people not responding to you the way that you wanted to, but you, Mr. Captain Save-A-Ho or whatever else, you showing up with a cape all the time, volunteering to do things that nobody asked. You being mommy with people that didn't ask you to be mommy. You being daddy to people that nobody asked you to be daddy to. And you get upset when they don't respond to you the way that you wanted them to respond because you keep doing it for your own emotional security. You're picking up stray dogs. You're picking up stray cats. You catch ringworm in the process, all right? And then you want to complain about your habits in doing this, but you haven't facilitated a way that makes it worth doing it, or that makes it sensible to even do it. Understand? There's an urge underneath to be a nurturer in this area. But how can we do it in a healthy way to where it serves a purpose, service? Aquarius, understand. Yes, you have to answer that impulse of Mars at Cancer that says, I have to nurture so that I could feel spiritually nurtured and value in myself. I have to show up and nurture something or someone, okay? This is where you want to nurture someone or you want to nurture something. The house is what gives the context. The house that you have Cancer, that gives the context and clarity on exactly what it is that you want to nurture or how you want to nurture so that you yourself can feel nurtured in your inner child, okay? But it turns out to be a crisis because you haven't figured out how to make this into a service that benefits you and doesn't place you in crisis as a result of doing so. So Pluto conjunct Mercury is going to make that very clear on how you could do it, how you can make it efficient and make it make sense. Understand? Aquarius, make it marketable even if you're wise. This is progress. Understand? But we got to get authentic. We got to get in touch with our instincts. We got to think logical too. We have to balance it out. Understand? Understand. Mercury conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. This lets us know that we have a real revelation, exposure, disillusionment coming concerning social media and the internet. As you know, just recently, TikTok had a temporary crisis, a temporary scare, along with the Venus conjunct Saturn transit, which was really an exposure of who is addicted or not, okay? Who has a problem that you really need to address. And then is restored the next day once Venus got past Saturn. Understand? So with Mercury and Pluto conjunct that Aquarius, this is bringing some of that and other things back to surface around who we are as it relates to the internet and how the internet and technology is at the root of our misalignment in this world, and possibly at the root of misinformation and narratives that we have been entertaining and subjecting ourselves to. So there are things to sort out concerning our relationship with technology and our relationship with social media, apps, online themes and theories. All of these things are going to be having some exposures around this time. Some issue is going to surface concerning this that also involves billionaires, people who have very powerful status concerning possible purchases or inheritance, influence, manipulation, control, changes, transformation to certain apps or platforms. Understand? Now, because Mercury Pluto does have its association with the following houses: 8th house through Pluto, okay? Again, the 3rd house through Mercury, and the 6th house through Mercury as well. Virgo is at the South Node. Let's take note of that, okay? So therefore, the 6th house is also at a South Node crisis or circumstance. It's South Node purging. The South Node Virgo, and Virgo in and of itself, 6th house, this is how we form the character, okay? The 6th house is how the character is formed. How do we form a character? Form is a very important word in astrology. Understand the word form. And form is an important word in astrology simply because through Saturn we take energy and we manifest that which we intend, that which we will, that which we think, that which we consent. Understand? And it comes to form. The spirits of form, which are impulses of planets, also called Elohim or Orishas, okay? They deal with the laws of physics, which comes after illumination. After illumination are the laws of physics, spirits of form. Angels are of illumination. Orishas or Elohim are of spirits of form, which deals with the subjugation to the laws of physics. So what principles, values, energies are we going to subject to the laws of physics so that we can form a character? Where does this idea come from of forming a character? Forming a character simply because at the 6th house, Virgo, where the South Node is at, the character of the past timeline has to dissolve and it has to transform into a new character to fit the new timeline of Aquarius. We cannot have the character of Capricorn. We have to form now the character of Aquarius. Forming the character of Aquarius is through the 6th house, which ascends up to the 10th house and falls down to the 2nd house. 6th, 10th, 2nd. Understand that, okay? 10th house is ruled by Capricorn and Saturn, okay? That's where your midheaven is at. That's where your character is at. That's also where your capacity to inherit new levels or levels of your destiny that includes your responsibilities and duties that fulfills your purpose here on earth. So it's the 6th house where you build that character through your daily process, your daily routine, your diet, your habits, okay? That which you do over and over again. How you relate to and work with open enemies. Okay, and open enemies is not just a person who gets on your nerves, it's also the hamburger that you stop to get, which works against your health. So now you're not able to receive the destined responsibilities and duties that you were destined for because you got bad health. Now you can't show up for it. Understand? So the 6th house is where we do that every day, that forms and chisels away at creating the character that we want to show up with, which gives us access to notoriety at the midheaven. When we include salvation at the water points to our character, we have the MC. The MC is only accessible through salvation paired with the formation of character. Understand? So this has to do with revelation through Pluto of key details that helps us to understand exactly how to step into the character that gives us undeniable access into the offices, positions, and opportunities that we see or foresee as part of our destiny to step into. Understand? That is the access. No longer is it DEI that gets us in there. DEI is not getting us in there no more. Affirmative action is not getting us in there. The race card is not getting you in there. Gender is not getting you in there. Biden's reign is up, okay? Obama's reign is up. Women's reign of the earth is up. Therefore, you will only get that which you earn, that which you work for, okay? And that's what this is about. Pluto is putting you on notice cognitively through Mercury that you have to form the character to get you there. You're obviously going to work through your community, 3rd house, your communications, who you can have conversations with to pick up details, insight, collaborations, things of that nature. You also are going to look at your 6th house, that what you're doing every day, to make that a reality, to make that possible. The character is something that you form on a daily basis so that you can have the capacity required to inherit duty and responsibilities that match the level, the house, the chair, the office, the territory that you want to fulfill your life through. Understand? At the 10th house. And the 10th house rains down as provision and resources and that which you value in life to the 2nd house. Okay? That's how it works. And that's what this is about. Because it's at Aquarius, it has to do with collaborating with others, working with others, making success through strategies that pulls off of the resources and the information and the talents, the gifts, and skills of others in an exchangeable or interchangeable way. Okay? Service. It's all about service at the end of the day. Understand? So let's see what more there is to look at. What we looking at too, Mercury conjunct Pluto. It's in opposition to the portion of the sky that holds the story of righteous anger, the heat, and the emotions that's clouding the judgment. The heat and the emotions that's clouding the judgment. What's going to happen around this time, as I'll expound on the details of, is Pluto is going to bring cognitive intensity, empowerment through the cognitive body, the ethereal, against narratives, confusion, misinformation, righteous anger, inaccuracies because of the cloud of emotions is going to oppose it, as they are on opposite portions of the sky. Pluto reveals to us truths that we cannot resist, reality that we cannot dodge and outstrip. We simply got to find the resilience to accept it. So events of disillusionment are going to take place to give a final blow to crocodile tears. A final blow to crocodile tears. This has a lot to do with what's been cursing us from the water. Understand, exploitation of emotions. Listen up. On the 28th of January, we have a conjunction of Mercury and Pluto, as well as conjunction of the moon at that point as well, leading into the new moon Aquarius. But I'm going to separate the subject matter of new moon Aquarius, and we're going to concentrate on the conjunction of Mercury and Pluto on this date, the 28th of January. Most important, you need to be aware and understanding of what it means to have Pluto and Mercury at the particular house location in your natal chart governed by Aquarius or hosted by Aquarius. Without understanding that, without knowing that, you can miss fine details that can mean the difference between understanding and just simply knowing something. We want to understand, right? Now, Mercury and Pluto conjunction is starting a forward progressive solution to the generational curse that holds frustration, righteous anger, and burden for every one of us. And that is the opposition of Cancer Mars. Cancer Mars represents an irritation in the blood and the family and the community and the house. It's not so simple as to just summarize this to a local experience. It's much bigger than that. And we have to take the full picture, the full spectrum into consideration if we're to have real understanding. Cancer Mars is a generational context, not just in your family, not just in your blood, not just in your household, your domestic Cancer, but also your nation, your community, your society, the public, your country, your flag, your demographic. Generational curses that continue to bring frustration, irritation, anger, resent, animosity, so on and so forth, over and over again. And we're sharing the burden of it, passing the buck. But yet no one's able to identify from whence has this come? Where did it come from? Where did it start? So it's futile argument, futile debate, futile talking points, futile back and forth in trying to address the issue. But what gives us the resilience to really deal with the issue? Of course, you guessed it, Pluto and Scorpio gives us resilience. So with Pluto conjunct Mercury, resilience is being lent to our perception, our cognition, what we recognize or recognize. Understand, cognition, cognize, Mercury, okay? What we recognize, recognition, okay? Pluto deals with re, R-E, Scorpio deals with R-E, regeneration, resurfacing of truth, revelation of that which was buried, hidden, placed in the underworld to never be spoken of again. Re goes with Pluto and re goes with Scorpio. Never forget. So it's about recognizing cognitively where it comes from, what the root of the matter is. Pluto gets at the root. Pluto rules the underworld, the underground, and down there is the root of all things. When you go down there, you look around and you say, oh, so that's what the root of that looks like from down here. Oh, okay, so that's what the roots look like for this or that. It's like you're digging up trees, you're digging up plants, and you're exposing the roots of all these trees and plants. You look across the street, a big split in the road, or the road caves in, the concrete splits, and you have water shooting out of the concrete, shooting out of the asphalt, right? And you're looking at it, you're like, okay, what's this about? What could have caused this? And then you come to find out it's the root of a tree that worked its way through an iron pipe. The root of a tree that lifted the asphalt and split the ground. Okay? So we can try to suppress things all we want, but sooner or later, that which is buried, that which is under the surface, is going to affect us the same way. Now you got to call the city. They got to dig a hole, cut the root, relay the pipe, so on and so forth, close it back up. This is what we're going through. Why do we have this water gushing out the ground, these emotions? Why do we have this break and tear in the asphalt? Why do we have the damage that we have in a property? How come this tree is no longer getting water? Because the roots of another tree are starving it out, choking it out. Understand? So we're getting to the bottom of things. That which is under the surface, that which is under the ground, it takes precedence in the reality that we see on the surface. The surface cannot be understood through the view and observation of the surface alone. Underground is the origin of what we see on the surface of ground. It's the origin. And Pluto gets us to the root of the issue. Our roots, quote unquote, right? No pun intended. Our roots, right? Our roots. Pluto's going to get us to the roots of our curses, the roots of our domestic crisis, the roots of our issues, the roots of what is dwelling inside of ourselves that does not give us peace, that keeps attracting problems, issues, crisis, turmoil into our life. What keeps bringing this? What keeps causing this, right? What keeps causing the disturbance and fallout between kith and kin? What keeps splitting the blood? What separates man from woman? What is the magic, the sorcery, the witchcraft that's taken place from the principalities and high places that we don't seem to recognize, cognition, understand? So now, oh, I see. At the root, it is thus. And that's what this transit is about, seeing what the root of the matter is. Cognitively, intellectually, through third house, Mercury. Understand? Third house, Mercury, that which you imply, that which you infer. That which another implies, that which another infers. It is also clarification through prefrontal cortex, the air of the mind. Oxygen to the brain, right? Oxygen and electricity to the brain, having full awareness and alertness, recognition, articulation, clarity, understanding when paired with Pluto, under, bottom, underworld, understanding, understand. So this is what's coming about, and it's in opposition to Mars in Cancer. With this being an opposition to Mars in Cancer, it's addressing righteous anger. Things that we are angry about, things that we are frustrated about, things that we cannot have peace about, but yet there's no one to blame. There's no one to point a finger at. There's no one to say, hey, you did this to me, so you should face justice. We're out for justice, but we don't even know who to chase. But then at the end of it, we come to find that we are self-sabotaging. We come to find out that we keep creating and recreating over and over again because there's patterns that we have yet to recognize. The recognition or recognition of patterns will come when Pallas Athena is conjunct Pluto. Pallas Athena will conjunct Pluto on, get this date, February 23rd, okay? So February 23rd is when we will recognize these patterns. I notice a pattern. Why every time this happens or that happens, then this happens, okay? And we're able to call the pattern. February 28th, Pallas Athena will conjunct Pluto, and this is when we will see and expose the patterns that keep recreating this over and over again. It could have came from the mother, the brother, the sister, the cousin, the uncle, yourself, passed down from the blood of the 12th house, understand? Because the North Node, Pisces, is hosting the fruitful results of Saturn passing through Pisces, which is the purging of the blood. And the purging of the blood is working together in harmony with the culture transformation of Mars in Cancer. But the culture transformation has to be surviving generational curses, breaking generational curses, clearing generational curses. Understand? So we're going to start seeing the patterns as well once Pallas Athena goes. But first is to recognize what it is, to be able to articulate it, to see that there's a root, there's a basis, there's a beginning of this. It came from somewhere. What is the source of what we suffer? What is the source of what we feel? And it has to come through Mercury because we have to get into our intelligence to understand this, not the emotions to where it gets obscured. The emotions lets you know that something is there intuitively. You can sense it. You can feel it. You know it's there. It's a presence of energy that you know is dark, that you know it's murky, it's heavy, right? But the ethereal has to clarify and identify exactly what it is, okay? So this is the amphibious effort, okay? We're buried in the water of Cancer and frustration. But we have to become amphibious enough to where we uptake air into the situation to find our clarity. We have to get into the intelligence, the intellect, the mind to really understand and identify from whence does this come. We have to get mathematics involved into it. Mathematics and geometry has to get involved into it. 1 + 1 = 2, so on and so forth. Why is this continuing to happen? Because we have bias. We have exaggeration. We have delusion. As long as our feelings are not subject to our self-mastery, as long as our emotions are not governed by our strength, our understanding, our discipline, our obedience, our humility, the picture gets obscured over and over again. I'm suffering and it's your fault. You did this to me. I'm hurt, I'm in pain, and you did this and you did that because you're doing this, because you're doing that. But when we sit down calm enough and get down to the facts of the situation, we start to find, whoa, I couldn't even point my finger. Because now I understand that I'm part of the recipe, I'm part of the equation. I'm co-creating this reality. And when we understand that about ourselves, we now arrive at compassion that we can afford for others, because understanding is what we can afford for others. Understanding and compassion are what? They are twins. You cannot tell the difference between one face and the other. This is where we are in the frequency of love. Our emotions and our feelings have been manipulated generation after generation from the family, the government, media, social media, cultural norms and ideals. And we're made to feel bad about things that we want to express from the heart. We're made to feel guilty about things, shamed about things, until we become someone who we're not. Shame, insult, guilt. Kevin Samuels called this sign language. Shame, insult, guilt. And it's what liberal females use to manipulate others, to submit themselves to their preferred ideals. to their delusions. Sign language, shame, insult, guilt. And liberal media works the same way. We're coming from the South Node Libra, which makes it appropriate for me to mention this. Understand, the time, the context, it all goes together. We're coming out of the female's mindset, and we're stepping into the masculine mindset. We're leaving Venus, and we're coming to Mars. How do I know this? South Node Libra is what we finish. North Node Mars through Aries is what we already downloaded. So we had to go from iron, we had to go from copper to iron. We had to go from Venus to Mars. We had to go from Oshun to Ogun. We had to go from divine feminine to divine masculine. We are on the opposite end. Understand? And that's what makes the context every time it comes back to the female. Rather you like it or rather you don't. Cancer represents the mature female. The female inclined to values, morals, principles, righteousness. Understand? However, this righteous anger has to be clarified. Because yes, I have the right to be angry about someone not allowing, for example, an illegal immigrant into the country, because I feel the sentiment of one human being to another. I want them to be able to live in the happiness and prosperity that I myself would want to have. So I'm offended at anybody who doesn't want to let them in. But when we step into the ethereal and we weigh out logically, reasonably, the whole entire context of the situation, what are the effects of allowing people to come in without due process? What harm does it do to everyone to just leave the gate open for every and anybody to walk in, illegal or not? We're thinking only with our feelings, and it's damaging because we're thinking like females, we're not thinking reasonably. We have to come out of the mind of Venus. We have to come out of the consciousness of Venus, and we have to balance it out with Mars and Aries, which is the North Node that we have already downloaded. There is a reason for this. Coming back to the instincts. Coming back to common sense, Scorpio. We were in the same crisis back in 1776 when Thomas Paine published what was called a pamphlet. Although it was a book, some argue and say it was a pamphlet. It was called Common Sense. And through Thomas Paine's writings, in which he decided to remain anonymous because he didn't want to be judged, he didn't want to be killed even or persecuted, he decided to hide his identity as he wrote this. But what he did was he spelled out common sense ideals around how society should be formed, contrary to the monarchy of England. Okay? Contrary to the Queen's ideals of government and the English Constitution. He went against it. And just like back then, they were coming out of government under women, under a woman, the throne, the queen. And today we're coming out of government of women through liberalism and feminism. So the same thing that happened back then, 1776, is happening today, where people are trying to find their way to break free from the government of females, the thinking of females, the rationale of females. It was their ideal that government should be rulership through the throne or through the crown should be through the blood. And it was Thomas Paine's idea that through a voting system in which the people decided who they wanted to lend authority to govern certain offices, it should form a central government that people themselves would choose, where they would find their order, their infrastructure, their security, their complaints, their justice, their economy, and everything else. Back then, that was a crazy idea. Like, this is ridiculous. This just doesn't make sense. Why would somebody do something crazy like that? Like getting away from the throne. Everybody knows we have a king or we have a queen. But they lost their tolerance for it. They were trying to get away from the rulership of a woman over there. And it's the same thing that's happening now. People are tired of the rulership of women, the leadership of women, the control of women, the domination of women in this Western society. DEI has just been kicked out from every corporation, every industry, every company. DEI is shot dead in the ground. It's a dead body. It's a corpse. It got flies swarming around it and vultures ready to eat its guts. DEI is over. And what did DEI do? It put women in places where they weren't qualified to be. I'm keeping it a buck over here. I'm pissing people off. It put women in positions that they were not qualified to be. It granted the wish of women in their envy of men to stand in the pants of men. Understand? And it especially put African Americans in places where they were being very ghetto, unprofessional, and ignorant, incompetent, and quite disturbing in the roles, positions, and power and authority and leverage that they had over society. DEI is shot dead. And it's mostly African American females who ruined it for everybody with their bad character. Keeping it a buck. Affirmative action died 2 years ago. Supreme Court kicked it out. So gone are the stories, gone are the generations of women who go to college and become career college attendees. I have a PhD. I got a doctor's degree. I got this, I got that. I got a bachelor, so on and so forth. And they wield it around as a false proclamation of their value. They wield career around as their value. The modern female takes education and career, and they worship education and they worship career. And they attempt to make education and make career the sum total of their value. Leaving behind morals, leaving behind values, leaving behind culture, leaving behind a dignity in themselves, leaving behind their identity as women, selling their children for it, murdering children through abortion in order to continue in it as they remain promiscuous and single, using it to enhance their reality through feminism, in which they are in competition with the male directly and openly. But yet it does not make them more valuable. It does not help them to marriage. It does not help them to be better wives. It does not help them to be better mothers. It does not help them in any way in their nature and their destiny, which they are inclined to as women. They are in a deeper crisis because of that delusion. But this is the last generation of African American females who will ever be able to access colleges at such high numbers because affirmative action is gone. Now you're going to have to actually be qualified to enter that campus, to get accepted to that college. So there's going to be a different number for the enrollments in college this time around. A different story is going to be told. These high-paying careers and jobs and offices, so on and so forth. She now has to walk through the steps of her brother. She has to experience what her brother has been experiencing. She has to go through what her brother has been going through without handouts from the government, without favors from society, without gaining access because I'm a female, I'm a black woman at that. You have to go through what your brother was going through as you were laughing at your brother for the past 30, 40 years. Questioning him, why aren't you up here? Why aren't you doing as good as us? Why don't you got what we got? Why ain't you doing this and why ain't you doing that? Meanwhile, her life is a lie financed by the banks. It's simple debt proposing an illusion. So now she has to face that same reality. And this is not only with the African American community, this is with the Western woman, period. Understand? Because the African American woman is the paraclete, or she is the first image of the Western woman. She's the first image of the Western woman because African Americans give culture to the whole world. African American males in particular own the hearts of the children. She owns the image of females and how they communicate and express themselves through feminism. So these things have been creating curses in the blood. Curses. Killing children, abortion because you want to be promiscuous and single all your life, yada, yada, yada. You don't got time for your kids. You cannot give them emotional support, nurturing, or any of the above because you're so ambitious and competitive in your career. You want the destiny of man. You don't want the destiny of woman. And the children have a frustration in themselves. They know something is missing. I should have had a father. I should have had a dad. And then they grow up and get old and they start to see the lies. My dad isn't as bad as you said he was. He wasn't a no good. He wasn't a low life. He wasn't a bum. He wasn't a deadbeat. You just sold me that story. And now that I'm old enough not to have to accept that story, I see the truth for what it is. And this is how the story always ends. They start to see the truth eventually, regardless of how she tries to mischaracterize him. And this has been going on since the 60s and 70s. Starting with feminism and then Lyndon B. Johnson's welfare state. Karma has come full circle for this curse that's come through women in the blood, in the family and in society. Now, for us on an individual and personal basis, this could hold a different context. That's why you have to get a reading with me. I'm speaking to the 11th house, which is the collective. For you personally, this could look a whole lot different. And if you don't get a reading with me, you won't know. There are specific details for every person on what these curses look like, what these burdens look like. But in general, we know that this is righteous anger, where there's nobody to blame, but we really want to blame somebody. But the conjunction of Pluto and Mercury is going to clarify where it's coming from, and it's going to be to our surprise. It's going to be to our surprise that it's coming from a place where we failed to show up with empowerment, where we failed to use authority, where we failed to use self-control and obedience, where we failed to show up and answer to our own destiny. We're going to find that we were misusing our power to create and co-create, and then blame the results on others. That's what we're going to find. And this is what's going to start the process of subsiding the frustration, bringing calm and peace and healing to that frustration. These curses are going to be answered and addressed. No longer will we condone as a people what we've been doing to the children. Cancer Mars deals with a injustice concerning children, and they need advocacy. This is the advocacy from the universe. The advocacy is we are going to reveal to you the root of the destabilization of the youth. Why are our sons turning to little terrorists? Why are they drug addicts? Why are they on Pornhub and video games all day, but never actually talk to a girl? There's a reason for that. Why are your daughters out here telling your sons that they're a bum if they work a 9-to-5 job? Why are your daughters out here telling your sons they dusty if they want to, meet at, somewhere for a smoothie on a first date? Why are you training and teaching your daughters to go out here and tell them they got to be millionaires, they got to be thousandaires and everything else in order to date them, but they bum ass? We're cursing the society as a whole. This causes an imbalance on what's supposed to happen on earth, which is we're supposed to be fruitful in a healthy and productive way, creating families, sustaining families. Feminism, liberalism work directly against that. It's from the pit of hell. All of this is being addressed. Cancer Mars in opposition to this Mercury conjunct Pluto. Mercury is going to attract conversations and details from the introspect of the Gemini-Jupiter retrograde. The Gemini-Jupiter retrograde is going to funnel in expansive details, understanding, cognitively, ethereal understanding As Pluto goes deep with this ethereal energy, to give recognition, and realization of exactly where all of these curses have been rooted from since the beginning. And really what you're going to end up finding is that between Pisces 12th house, Saturn transit, and Cancer Mars transit, the picture's going to come together of what salvation is supposed to mean for you. The water signs are the points of salvation. Cancer, the salvation with self and the inner child. Scorpio, the point of salvation with you and others, in resolutions, in justice and injustice between you and others, power struggles. And salvation with society, with the world, through the 12th house, reconciling with your subconscious and that which you are putting out to the world through the subconscious. These are points of salvation. And salvation has to answer with atonement, reconciliation. It also has to answer with confession, which is being transparent. Being transparent about your awareness of yourself as a creator or co-creator of that which you dislike to experience with others or with yourself. Admitting and surrendering to the fact that you did it to yourself or you helped others to do it to you. Owning your portion, being accountable. Knowing that you can't do it perfect. But knowing that you can't do it perfect doesn't mean that you do not give the effort. And that is part of why we make atonement, and we also confess. The transparency with self about what we have been putting in the water. The water is the basis of life. It's from whence all life comes. So if the water is polluted, the emotions are polluted, the blood is polluted, everything that you do will be polluted also. That's what this is about, and it's coming full circle. All water points are in crisis, but it's toward a freedom on the other side that's going to allow us to experience what peace really is, collectively even. Peace is coming on the other side, but first we have to have this spiritual warfare. We have to conquer the territory of self, be victorious in the territory of self, saving it from demonic plagues. Understand? We have to exercise these demonic impulses of the self. We have to clean it up. Being honest. The use of infrastructure, the use of innocent children and everything else to sacrifice, to form weapons of, to abuse and mistreat others, to slander others, to tear others down, to cheat. Joining in with crowds of opinions that you know is of the wrong perspective, but you do it just because you feel safe in the crowd, knowing that you're dead wrong, but you put all your faith in the crowd. Don't think that you can't get handpicked by the hand of God because you're hiding in the crowd of the people who's yes girl and you on. You will get exposed. Because when we run from truth, we become a fugitive from truth. And when you are a fugitive from truth, disillusionment is the deputy sheriff that will come and pick your goddamn ass up. Disillusion. The same one that you run to on the way running from truth is exactly who's going to bring you the disillusionment in the first place. You will be exposed. We should align with what's taking place. Clarification is coming, and we should prize it. We should cherish it. We should really value that this revelation is at the dawn. Getting down to the root of the problems, the root of the matter, the root of the issue. Pluto is powerful. And Pluto does not give up at digging for the truth, at getting down to the facts, the bottom of the matter, and knowing exactly what the real story is. It's a journalist that will stand right next to every bomb and bullet in the battlefield. And Mercury is going to go with Pluto on that journey into the battlefield of self to report exactly what's really going on internally, what has been going on internally. This is taking place at Aquarius because Aquarius is where we are innovating, and innovation can't take place until we get to the common sense. Common sense has to come first, then innovation. Common sense has to be there for the revelation. Common sense has to be there for the revolutionary and for the rebel who is on a just cause. The rebel for a just cause, understand. Making revolutionaries of all of us, bringing revelation for all of us. Learning how to side with truth, having the resilience to acknowledge and accept the truth. Pluto, resilience. Not what you want to be the truth, but what is. Pluto represents the billionaires, the powerful people. So there will be an announcement at this time where billionaires such as Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and so on and so forth, powerful people of the world, such as your Vladimir Putin and your Donald Trumps, all of the powerful people, okay? There's going to be an announcement. There's going to be a message. There's going to be a news broadcast that's going to really get down to the bottom of what we have been suffering in society. It's going to bring clarity to where we're on the upside of that frustration rather than the bottom side of that frustration, feeling empowered toward that Cancer Mars irritation that we share as a collective. Okay, because Pluto does deal with powerful people. This also could be a matter of powerful people in your relationships or in your family. You know, where things are being gotten down to the bottom of concerning the influence that they have that harbors these festation of generational curses. We're dealing with all of it. A lot of people don't like Trump. Trump is no saint. Trump should not be worshipped. Nobody should sit at his feet and say, oh, he's our savior. You'll be a fool to do it. But what is undeniable is that Trump was prepared and deliberately placed by the divine powers at hand to do the job that he's doing. It's part of the justice in the scales of this lifetime. So it's futile for people to think that you're going to work against him. Trump can only do what was already measured to be done as justice during his term. And it's not about him. It's about the fact that he's being used to accomplish what the will of the universe already has planned out in this timeline. And we should look for the opportunity and blessings in it. He exposes the fact that the West, especially these United States of America, has not only alienated fathers, but vilified fathers. Alienated husbands, but vilified husbands. Alienated men, vilified men. They hate men. This is a country that hates men. There is a hatred, a disdain for men, for masculinity, and for the authority of men. A disdain. A pure hatred for men. And you see it in Trump. If Trump was somebody who women liked, we all would have to pray for mercy. Because every time there was a leader that women liked, we got fucked. We got screwed. We got led astray. The bats of hell was released. They loved Obama. And Obama opened up every rainbow and transformer out into society to confuse the children. To where eventually there was turning textbooks, learning how to have anal sex in the 5th grade. But women love how he dressed. They love how he walked. They love how he talked. He had the swag. He had the looks. Oh, look at how cute he is with Michelle Obama. Women took us straight to the hellfire. Women took us into confusion, mayhem, and utter destruction in our country and society. Liberal females. Feminists. They brought the country into ruin. Look at Sleepy Biden, Kamala Harris, promoting and condoning every type of sin and iniquity that you can imagine. The killing of babies, the confusion of sex and genders, children chopping off their private parts and putting on different ones and stopping the parents from having a say-so about it. Degeneracy. Taking the funds of the Americans and giving them to everyone except the Americans. Serving everybody except the Americans. Helping everybody except Americans. Supporting everybody except Americans. Opening the doors of the border for anybody to walk in from any country at any time with no verification of who the fuck is in this country. This is who women like. When you follow women, you're in trouble. When you go behind the leadership of women, you're in trouble. America is a fine example of what will happen if your country is run by women. If they worship women. If they listen too much to women. This is a woman's country. And it has gone to shits. It has turned into Satan's paradise by women. And no one can refute that, challenge that, argue that, or deny that. No one. It's all about women. And we're learning how to undo it. They don't like Trump because Trump represents masculinity. He represents independence of himself, not bearing on a system, the pockets of somebody else. He represents revolution because he goes against the grain. He remains authentic. He has the grit. He overcomes the adversity. He does what's right, not what's popular. He follows his instinct, not the crying tears of the people. That's a man. That's how a husband should be. That's how a father should be. That's how a brother should be. And unfortunately, feminists of the West of America have taught us that that is a point to vilify fathers, husbands, and men over for being a man. God made man to be exactly like Trump. You don't like him, but you gotta respect him. He's not here to entertain you, tap dance, and make you laugh and giggle. He's here to protect and contain you. He's here to restore order. He's here to bring Saturn into your life, but nobody likes Saturn. Trump is a Leo rising just like me. Trump is a Gemini just like me. Me and Trump have the same astrological birth chart. And a Leo rising represents the strength card. They're not people who are there to serve your pleasures. They're not there to entertain. They're there to give you strength where you are weak. They're there to keep you aligned with the truth of the light, not false light of Venus, but the true light of the sun, chart ruled by the sun, Leo rising. I'm a Leo rising, and you see, I'm not popular. I'm not likable. But I'm honest. Nobody likes me, just like nobody likes Trump. Everybody thinks I'm a dickhead. They think Trump is a dickhead. People think I'm overbearing. They think Trump is overbearing. I'm infamous. They think Trump is infamous. But that's who Ogun is. That's who Ogun is. He descended from the hill covered in fire and blood. But you can't have life without Ogun. The strength card. Understand. True light has to follow behind the false light of Venus. And that's the sun. Chart ruler Leo. Understand. Gemini is going to bring the ethereal, not emotional, watery servitude. Emotional, watery servitude will have us all fucked up. That's like every time the wife or the mother starts crying about something, the husband gets weak and bitches up and starts doing exactly what the wife or the mother wants to do. And now the household lacks security, it lacks structure, it lacks consistency, it lacks form, it lacks discipline. It lacks predictability. It's all over the fucking place, like the woman's emotions. America is a household too. And it's become a household run by women and people who women like. And that's how it got so fucked up. A household is not supposed to be run by a woman. It's supposed to be run by a motherfucking man. Niggas gotta grow some fucking balls. Niggas gotta grow balls in the United States of America. Niggas have to grow some fucking balls. Stop being little bitches worshiping women. That's the problem with America. Too much worshiping women. What's also behind the Mercury conjunct Pluto transit is an influence that bears directly to the South Node, which is Virgo, okay? Which is Mercury ruled, okay? Mercury ruled, South Node, Virgo. Now through Virgo, the South Node, Mercury, this is scrutiny. It is also an analytical, or should I say critical. It is a criticism of the self, a criticism of the circumstance that looks pessimistically at what you have been taught, what you have been told, what you have been shown through media, okay? So this is where we compare media. We also compare news bearers of the family, people who have the head, who own the narrative of the family, okay? South Node Virgo is going to expose the news bearers or the narrative bearers of the family, the narrative bearers of relationships, the narrative bearers of communities, and the narrative bearers of society, okay? So whoever owns the narrative is going to be looked at, scrutinized, judged, criticized, looked at pessimistically through the South Node Virgo. And when we look pessimistically at that person, we're going to say, hold up, we've been listening to you for over 11 years, okay? We've been listening to you, for your version of the story. We've been listening to your version of the situation, to your take on the situation, your outlook. And you know what? I'm more in touch now because of Scorpio Vesta, Scorpio Juno. I'm in touch with my instincts, and my instincts is telling me something different. I'm going with my common sense. My common sense is exposing you at the South Node. Because my common sense of saying that the South Node, and based on the depth of understanding that Pluto is lending me and the resilience to actually look at the truth and not resist it or reject it, I'm able to stand flat foot and say, you've been lying to us all along. You've been confusing us. You need to shut the fuck up. I'm tired of listening to your story. You know what? You've been blowing smoke up our ass. Fuck you. Go take a walk. You've been lying to us. This is how that goes. And this goes for liberal media, and it goes for women of the family who uphold false narratives about fathers, about husbands, about men, about the family, about the blood, about what happened with this child and that person and this person and that auntie and this uncle. People who keep up mess in the family, they're going to be exposed during this time, okay? These things are going to come to the surface, or whatever has been in the way of peace, progress, harmony in the blood. All right. This is also in society and communities as well. Who's been putting, who's been spiking the punch? You understand? Who's been slipping the Mickey? Who's been putting the pills in the drink? All right. Who's been contaminating the authenticity and the sincerity of messaging? Who's been causing the confusion? Who's been sowing discord? Okay. So these are the things that's going to be looked at. I don't believe you is going to be the theme. Common sense changes its axis right here, okay, at this conjunction. This is what common sense takes precedence over all of the narratives that we've been told and sold for generations, okay? So, mommy, auntie, whoever else of the family who've been saying all these things about certain people of the family and owning all the stories, people are going to put it together for themselves and say, hold up, you know what? They full of shit. That ain't even true. Because if that was the case and this and this and that, and I see that this is going that way and that's, hold up, this don't even add up. I'm not listening to that no more. And now we're breaking these curses. We're breaking the chains. We're setting ourselves free. And this stuff goes on in communities too. It goes on in the country as well. Narratives that have been going on for so long, telling the same dead, screwed up ass story, and we're getting to the truth as a people. The people are getting to the truth. We are becoming revolutionaries. We are becoming rebels from a very high place. We are being helped and assisted by the forces of this universe under the Most High, the Most Merciful, to become revolutionaries for ourselves. Understand, you can't lie to us no more.